The book on this historic rivalry is still being written. Today in Canada, Andre Agassi, the #1 player in the world, faces his friend and rival, #2 player in the world as of now, Pete Sampras. Chapter 1 of the rivalry started in Melbourne at Flinders Park, Australia, with an Agassi win. Then Chapter 2 had Sampras winning in Indian Wells. Chapter 3 gave us an Agassi victory at Key Biscayne. It's over. Stay tuned for Chapter 4. You're about to watch live coverage of the Dumare Limited Open, and I tell you, there's a hush about this 10,000-seat crowd here. They are just in awe of what they're about to see. Andre Agassi, #1 in the world. It's by far the best final ever, potentially, here, taking on Pete Sampras for the Canadian title for 1995. Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome. It's another great day for tennis, Fred Stolle, because you got the #1 and the #2 players in the world. When you think about it, all of the Super Nines here in the North American continent have enjoyed the same thing, and what a way to showcase tennis. What an opportunity. What a day.
What a day for the last match here at Jarry Stadium too, Cliff, to have the opportunity to see the #1 and 2 go out at. Pete Sampras, lucky to be there, though. He was down match point against Thomas Enquist, needed that big serve. The serve came good for Sampras yesterday, but these Canadians love their tennis. They know their tennis, and boy, what an opportunity for them to see the two best tennis players in the world. It doesn't get any better than that.
Fred, it's a very even ball game. You can't really call this one, can you?
No, it's a very tough one. I'm going to sit on the fence like you.
Okay, that's where I feel comfortable today. Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi have ruled men's tennis for the past year. Agassi overtook Sampras as the world's top player a few months ago. Their rivalry for the #1 ranking is intense, of course, but their relationship is based on mutual respect.
I really don't care much about being #1 after the first hour of it, because it's an incredible accomplishment. But to me, it's winning the Grand Slam tournaments. You know, being #1 is such a byproduct of just winning and playing your best, and that best being the #1 place. You know, that I haven't even thought about it much. I don't really think much about being #1 in the world when I'm on the court. Matter of fact, to be quite honest, I don't feel #1 when I'm on the court. I'm feeling every match like I have to prove to that guy that I'm better than he is. And so I really haven't thought much about it. Maybe after a year, if I'm lucky enough to do it, I'll start worrying about it and thinking about it. But as of right now, I'm just focused on improving and winning the Grand Slam tournaments.
I remember I got to be #1 in Tokyo a couple years ago, and it was like I beat David Wheaton, and you know, it was like kind of felt good, but I had to play the next day. I mean, it wasn't like I could really enjoy it. And you know, I think a lot of people make a big deal out of the #1. I mean, sure, I'd love to be #1, but it doesn't compare to how I felt after, you know, winning Wimbledon this year. I mean, I was on. There's no comparison, and the majors, you know, that's the most important thing. And sure, I want to try to regain that #1, so give my best shot for the rest of the year.
When you're #2, you seed #1, and you know how good you have to be to get there. But then when you are #1, now it's up to you. It's up to you to carry the game further, in a sense, and there's no measuring tool to use. So you have to really have an extra effort to keep focused on improving, and you got to, in a sense, be a pioneer. You know, keep inventing ways ways of getting better.
You see Andre play, I mean, he's still very focused, and he's going out and trying to win. He's the one guy that I feel, I can still play good tennis and he can still beat me, and I can't say that about a lot of the guys on the tour, because he's got the best return to serve, probably of all time, and that's my best shot. So when you have that contrast in style, I think it can result in some great tennis. And he, the way he's playing the past year, I mean, he deserves to be number one. I mean, he's, clearly playing some great tennis, but it's different when I play him. I mean, it's kind of the rivalry's kind of been built up, and we haven't played in the past 4 months, so it's kind of died down a little bit. But there's a lot of respect from one another.
I think what's great about Pete is that he's a very explosive kind of player who you're just never quite sure, when his venom's coming, so to speak. It's like he can stretch at 2-1, 15-30. If I'm serving 1-2, 15-30, I mean, in the next 22 minutes, it could be, 6-2, 3-1. He can stretch a lead a lot like Lendl used to, because when he gets on a roll, it's tough to stop his serve, and he's so overpowering, And then plus, I think that, the fact that he's so good off the ground, but yet he's known as a big server, I mean, he can hold serve without you hitting one rally.
The whole summer season, not playing it last year, I mean, really kind of hurt my ranking a little bit, but I can accept the fact that Andre, won the Australian, beat me in the final, won the U.S. Open, so he deserves to be number one because he's won the majors, and because I really believe who wins the majors should be number one. I mean, it's plain and simple, and it's the most important thing in tennis. And but the whole summer, I can gain a lot of points, and obviously the U.S. Open is the kind of the immediate goal right now, and whoever wins there, if it's Andre, he deserves it to be number one.
In my mind, whoever wins the U.S. Open is number one in the world. That's if me and Pete win it. I think if Mooster wins it, he would be the other one that I would say, well, geez, he won the French and he won the U.S. Open, then he should be number one in the world this year. I would agree with that. But whoever wins the most slams, in my opinion, is number one in the world. And if the slams are split between 4 people, you got to go to the videotape. You got to go to that ranking.
So the race between these two Davis Cup teammates continues. They're in the final stages of their warm-ups. Live coverage of the final after a break. Pete Sampras about to serve first, best of 3 sets, final of the Canadian Open. Agassi has won a lot of money on court, Fred, but it pales by comparison with what he's made off the court.
Certainly, and the career earnings there, just over $9 million. And you'll see the similarities here when you have a look at Sampras's money he's made this year. Agassi's made $1,334,000 and change, with that career prize money of over $9 million.
30 love.
But as you mentioned, off the court with the commercials that he does and the contracts that he has, who knows what it is.
Reportedly $100 million over 10 years with Nike alone.
40 love.
Doesn't include the cameras and the head rackets. Pete Sampras no slouch in that off-court endorsement area either.
No, he's getting up there now too.
Game point, Sampras. Players will change ends with Sampras the server, 1 game up in the first set. We'll take a break from this live coverage of the Du Maurier Limited from Montreal. From the Jarry Tennis Stadium, this is Pete Sampras receiving the serve of Agassi. Sampras leading 1 game to love. Love 15.
0 cans.
Ranked number 2 at the moment. He has been number 1, of course. Career earnings of over 13 million. This year, his earnings very similar to those of Agassi's, as you were pointing out, Fred. Washington, D.C. was where he was born. Tampa, Florida's home now. Most of Sampras's life was spent out on the west coast where Agassi lives, near Nevada, up in Los Angeles area.
They're so close in so many areas, these two. Look at this. This is the number of matches won so far in their career. Agassi's a little older than Sampras. He's won 399 as opposed to Sampras's 395. In their finals, career finals record, Agassi's 28-11. Sampras 33-10. Sampras leads the head-to-head 8-7, and they're 3-3 in finals, but 4-2 on hard courts for Sampras. But Agassi won their last meeting in Key Biscayne 7-6 in the final set.
You know, they do a lot of flip-flopping. I mean,
Yep.
Agassi will win in Sampras, and then Agassi, then Sampras.
Well, they're so close. As you say, we said in the stand-up, it's very tough to say, hey, one guy's playing that much better than the other.
A good point. Sampras opened it up with a blistering forehand, but Agassi would not be made to play defensively.
Yeah, but Sampras didn't do enough with the shot. He got the one that he wanted, and then he comes and he tries to come over and hit this one. He doesn't get much pace on it, mishits it. It was very short, so then he paid the price then because Agassi with that two-fister went cross-court with the backhand for a good shot.
Game point Agassi.
A little bit of luck now. The tactics that the players use here in Indian Wells, where Sampras won, he was able to keep Agassi on the baseline by playing that topspin backhand of his deep into the court. He gets it over the net about 8 feet with some pace and some depth on it. In Key Biscayne, he didn't quite have that depth, and Agassi was able to hit more winners than Sampras. That's the type of backhand that Sampras wants, but he miscued that one and sent it long, so it's 1 game all.
Indian Wells, he kind of let Agassi self-destruct, didn't he? Played all, you know, as much as we talk about him as an offensive player and a servant volleyer.
Well, he self-destructed because of the fact that Sampras got the ball deep and he missed when he went for those shots, whereas you remember down in Key Biscayne, they're a little short around that service line area, and
then Agassi
doesn't miss too many from that spot.
One game all. Winner! Well, that running forehand is a dangerous baby. You've got to watch it very carefully. That one was very well threaded.
Sampras's forehand has been giving him trouble here at the Canadian Open, but this one he finds the mark. Throughout the championship series, hit 26 forehand winners, but he's made 47 unforced errors on the forehand side.
He nevertheless likes to run around the backhand if he gets an opening.
Trump is a 30-11.
You're right, Fred. His forehand has let him down quite a bit this week.
On the other side of the coin, Agassi's forehand has been his strength here, as it always is. 43 forehand winners this week, as opposed to 27 unforced errors in that department.
Agassi smacks the ball so flat. It's just incredible. It's a little bit Jimmy Connors-like, except he hits the ball even harder, and he'll do that off both wings. He doesn't have the margin that most players have. But that is more than balanced by the fact that he gets the ball so low and hard.
depth in that rally off the backhand.
Carroll Cairns, 40-15.
The Australian Open was a very close match. Pay attention to the third set. There were a couple of points in the tiebreak where Agassi opened the match up for him.
Sampras had set points in that third set.
And the other two were close as well. We're on serve here, no breaks yet. 2-1, early stages. Sampras leads. Agassi will serve after this.
Sampras lead.
Agassi and Pete Sampras. 1-2 on serve. Agassi to serve into the sun. He's throwing the ball up to try to figure exactly where to smack it.
Paul O'Neill's a pretty big slugger on the tennis court too, as I mentioned yesterday. He likes to play tennis. He's a good A-grade tennis player. He'd love to be watching this match. This is where Sampras does a good job on the run on both sides. Look at the preparation. You can see that racket back already before he takes. He's got another 2 steps and he's prepared to hit that one. And it just keeps the head still. And that's how you're successful on passing shots.
Agassi hasn't lost a set here in Montreal, and bear in mind as you see who he beat, including the surprising and interesting, I suppose, Jeff Tarango, then Dan Novacek, the big serve and volley player, Malawi of Washington, and then Mats Wilander. He just rolled over him yesterday.
Has not played a seeded player. He's the first player to reach the Canadian final without playing a seed since Boris Becker did that, and Becker won the title back in 1986.
So he's had a much easier time of it here in Montreal, but bear in mind he had a rough week last week in Washington, beating Edberg in the final in a tremendous match.
Pretty close call there. Sampras sort of had a second look himself.
There's Brad Gilbert, Agassi's coach.
Brad sitting right on that line there, pretty much looking straight down the line there behind the court, so he obviously thought that may have been out. That's the way it was called.
Gilbert said that when he got a hold of Agassi, which was in the spring of last year, that he wasn't serving smart. I wanted to make his most effective serve, the kicker, more effective by mixing it up. There's a look at the comparison, Fred, of the way that they got here. So Sampras had to play a lot more tennis.
More tennis, exactly.
Nevertheless, when Sampras played his first match here on Wednesday, that was the first match that he played since winning the Wimbledon final against Becker.
Sneaky quick, this serve of Agassi's. Brad Gilbert says, hey, he wasn't real smart with the way he served. He is smarter now. He doesn't go for that big rocket serve. That one's 176 kilometers an hour, so it's about 110 miles an hour. But it sets up for shots like that. If he gets a first serve in, that one 167 kilometers an hour, just over about 104 miles an hour, and he gets this short reply. And this is what players like Sampras and Courier, and to the extent Thomas Enquist last night, they get that ball back into play, half court there, and then they hit the outright winner. Sampras will serve and volley a lot more, so he plays his shot pretty much in the air, knocks off the volley, whereas the other players I mentioned will let that return bounce.
Yeah, but if you've got that kind of forehand, then you can afford to do that.
Well, Sampras could afford to do that a little bit too. But he prefers the serve and volley. He's a better volleyer. The reason is he's a better volleyer than either Agassi, Courier or Enquist.
He's also got more of a serve to set up the volley. $15 2 games all, first set.
That's the shot that he's looking for, that one there, that on that occasion a little bit deep. He's on a 16-match winning streak, Sampras. after winning both Queen's Club and Wimbledon.
He was down match points to Mark Gurner at Queen's, remember, Fred?
Yep.
He was down yesterday in the semis to
Match
Enquist.
point. Fine serve out wide. That's only the second ace so far. Won 10 of 11 finals last year, Sampras. Pretty good performance.
And this year he beat Agassi at Indian Wells, he beat Forget in Queen's in the final, and he took out Becker at Wimbledon.
Oh, that's a bad volley. He was looking there. He took his eye off the ball there because it was not a big return from Agassi. So Sampras has time when he gets in there to have a look out the corner of his eye and see which way Agassi's going. Takes his eye off the ball and just dumps a pretty easy one into the net. That may be costly.
30 all.
At this level of play, that was a miss-hit return. At this level of play, it's only one bad game. Normally just one service break decides these sets with these two lads, and just a couple of loose points or an easy volley missed or an easy attempt at a passing shot, something of that nature can make the difference.
Game point. Out of reach of Agassi, gets to it but couldn't do anything with it, and Sampras holds on, still no breaks. 3-2 first set. Number 1 and number 2 battling it out on center court. Prizes for figuring out which is the largest. The City of Lights in Paris.
Got these players here with their entourage, as to speak. With Agassi, he's obviously got coach Brad Gilbert and personal assistant Rick McKee. And Brooke Shields. Obviously, Brooke has been up here for the weekend. And there's Paul Annacone, who is with Todd Schneider, who was one of the ATP Tour trainer, but now he works exclusively for Pete Sampras, has become Pete's fitness trainer.
Girlfriend Elena's not here today. In case you're missing her, she headed down to a wedding.
That's part 2, 15 all.
For his early round, it was Jonathan Stark in the first round. And Stark, he gave him a very good match. It was a 3-setter. He took out Mauricio Haddad easily. Stich had a big lead on him in the first set, and then Enquist was just a tough match, period. As we mentioned, Enquist had a match point on him in the third set. Eventually, Sampras won it easily in the tiebreak of the third. No, a lot of help from the net, and Sampras is going to give it a little peck.
Agassi a little annoyed with that one because it's the second time that it's happened, and this is where I think Sampras has missed a couple of opportunities. Allowed Agassi back in when he's forced him into a position and he doesn't put that backhand away. It allows Agassi back into the point, but finally the net cord. Watch Agassi's reaction here.
And Sampras's.
30 all.
You put either one of these two players up against anyone else in tennis, and they figure that they can and should win. You put them up against each other, and there's that big question mark that hangs over it. So there's a different attitude in the way that they play this.
Well, they're very good friends off the court, but you put them on there, and they're both winners, and they don't like to lose, either one of them, particularly when they're playing against one another, and it shows.
Out of reach. And it's deuce.
Got the topspin backhand out of reach of Agassi. Agassi couldn't get the two-fister on it, and it allows Sampras to get into the net. This is the one. Look, he can't get. You can see how this ball bounces up. He's got to slice that one. He does a good job with it, but Sampras is there to make the half volley. He knows he's just got to get it over the net, not get it too deep, and he won the point. So it's deuce. That running forehand, he's hit a couple up the line for winners, but that's been a problem for him, as we mentioned, throughout the tournament. 27 winners, 47 unforced errors. And he's made a few unforced errors here on the run with that forehand, because the rally, the ball during the rally has been a bit short. Agassi's been able to put him under pressure.
Game point, Agassi.
You got it. Deuce.
It's not a bad return, that one, because it floats deep. It's three-quarter court, and it's got slice on it, so it stays low. It has no pace on it, and Agassi then has to generate his own pace. He doesn't like to do that.
Deuce. Break point here for Sampras, vis-a-vis what you were saying just a moment ago, Fred. Let me tell you, remind you of a quote that he made one time that I kind of enjoyed, and that he says that people see Pete Sampras and think that he's a little lackadaisical and casual. He said, I work hard on my tennis, that's for sure. I get a lot of pleasure out of beating people. He's got a break point here. Because people do see him as lackadaisical. There's the first break, first blood in this match, and Agassi bangs one into the ground, which then heads up into the stands. He's not going to get a warning for that one.
Interesting to see Agassi come into the net on that shot there, because he was not in a good volleying position, and Sampras had a good crack at the shot, and you can see the disgust there with Agassi as he loses the first break of the match. Brooke Shields looking on there. It's 4-2 now, Sampras.
Bubba, could we get this ball back from the crowd? Let's get that ball.
There is the run for number one. Agassi entered this week with over 1,300 points. If Sampras loses in the final, he would trail Agassi by still about 1,000 points. If Sampras wins the tournament, he would cut Agassi's lead to about 726. So there's a lot at stake here in the race for number one. No, that's going to go wide. Love 15.
Love 15.
Sampras has
Ball's
changed
down.
the strategy
Ball's
on the
down.
running forehand. He's gone down the middle of the
down.
court as opposed to going for that cross-court shot. Agassi a little more patient in that rally.
Considering whether to hit that one, I think he thought it might go long. A miss hit on the return, got up in the air, but Sampras put it away easily.
Also a little difficult up there throughout the week with the sun, Cliff. You can see where the sun is, and you have a good look at it. Sometimes you just have to look into the sun, make that shot. Then it's tough to see the next one.
Exactly right, Fred. It's about 2:40 in the afternoon. This is about the worst time to be serving from where Sampras is. See how he has to throw that ball to the side, a little further to the side than he's used to. That's because of the sun being in the exact spot that he likes to throw the ball up at.
And it causes a couple of double faults, so that is the only double fault so far for Sampras. But he's trying to consolidate a break here. He just achieved the first break of the match. 15:30.
Break points for Agassi to get right back on serve. He's down 4-2. 15:40. You have to throw the ball either one side to the right or to the left, Fred, don't you? On if the sun's where it normally is, where you throw the ball.
And this one's not too far forward. You can see him getting that one nearly behind him as he sort of leans into the serve. So a couple of opportunities now for Agassi to get back. Sampras can't buy a first serve in this game. That's a gutsy second serve at 15:40.
30-40.
And the return barely missed.
Yeah, I was going to say not a pretty gutsy return as well, and that's within inches. It is so interesting to watch these two play because everything that they hit is so close.
Well, they're so close in everything that they do. Singles titles. Agassi's won 28 singles titles in his career. Sampras has won 31 titles.
Back at deuce. 3 aces for Sampras.
Deuce.
He had over 20 aces yesterday. I want to say about 24 aces against Enquist.
Well, he really served well against Enquist, and that got him out of trouble. He has not been serving particularly well throughout the tournament. Pretty much the same story as at Wimbledon, but he came good as he got to the semi-finals and finals. Look at the motion on this straight down the tee. 196 kilometers an hour, which is 122 miles an hour. Not too many of those come back.
And that one didn't come back either, so Sampras is ahead. He was down a break point there on that serve, but held on. It's 5-2 Sampras first set. Sampras has a 5-game-to-2 lead here in the first set. That represents 1 break a serve. Sampras three-peated at Wimbledon this year. He was without Tim Gullickson, his coach, and we asked him about how it felt to make it 3 in a row.
It was different because it was the first one that I won without Tim. It obviously wasn't with me, but it was different in the way when I got home and I really thought about the fact that Fred Perry and Bjorn Borg were the only 2 guys that have done in the last 80 years in the first American male. I mean, that really hit me, and it really was overwhelming that I did it. And it kind of like when you're playing and you win it, it's like your mind's just a blur. And when you get home, it's just like it all kind of hits you, and you can kind of let it all sink in. So this one was the most special. I think the most special out of all of them. So that kind of hit me over the last couple of weeks.
Quite an incredible point there. Both players on the run on the forehand side. Brilliant stroke making. I guess he's starting to press a little now. Love 30.
Borg won 5 straight Wimbledons, which was probably the most remarkable feat of the last couple of decades. But you can see Sampras equaling that. You really can.
Sampras is about $4 million ahead of Agassi as far as career prize money is concerned. And the main reason for that is he's won 6 Grand Slam titles as opposed to Agassi's 3.
On the line, and this is set points for Sampras coming up. 3 of them. It's love 40.
Well, this is a perfectly played point from Sampras. He's got love 30 against the #1 player in the world. He slices the second serve, gets into the net, says, pass me. It's a brilliant approach right into the corner, and he blankets the net.
Against Carolina, 15-40.
I liked Agassi's comment. He said, when I'm playing against Pete, he's one of those fellas that can really stretch a lead in a hurry. It wasn't so long ago where it was 2 games all.
From Carolina, 30-40.
Sampras having a second look at that. Called good, and you're not going to get an overrule from Richard Kaufman on that far sideline.
Taking a look at the mark, but I think it clipped the line, Fred. Still set point. Well, that's interesting. 3 in a row for Agassi. He has saved 3 set points. Potential turning point. Going to challenge Sampras to serve for the set, apparently. The sun will be behind Sampras. He struggled on his last serve game with him serving into the sun, but was able to hold on.
3 aces each now.
Agassi.
Well, that's a pretty good game for Agassi to get out of from love 40 down.
Even in aces after 8 games. Who'd have thunk it?
Sampras now 5-3.
Pretty remarkable, though, because in the last service game, you might remember that Sampras was down 15-40, a couple of break points, and came back out of it with some big serves, 2 aces and a couple of big first serves. As you look at the service profile, 52%, 92% return when he gets that first serve in.
Another first serve in, and 15 love Sampras. 5-3 Sampras.
That's just too good a volley. Too much pace on it for Agassi to really have time to get over the top and play that topspin lob. It was a great return off a big first serve. Watch this volley. Good solid volley. Uses the pace of the return to get this one deep into the corner. 30 love.
Oh, yeah. He's been hitting that forehand a lot better today than he has all week long. Clean winner on this one to give him 3 set points. He has had 3 already. This is his 4th. He had 3 on Agassi's serve in the last game at love 40. Made it look easy, didn't he? Serving for the set against Agassi. A winner, Pete Sampras, 6-3 first set. Break time from Montreal. Back in a minute. Here through the IBM ATP Tour Sportsman of the Week program. So congratulations to Jimmy Courier.
It's a great program, and it's nice to see the top players giving something back to the game and looking after those charities.
And trying to get more people involved in tennis. First set to Sampras. This is first game, second set.
0-10, love 15.
Sampras' forehand was much better for him in the first set than has been all week. He hit 7 winners as opposed to Agassi's 3 and only 1 unforced error.
by 2:15.
He was a lot worse on the backhand side. 7 unforced errors there. The 4 winners against Enquist. That was over 3 sets.
I couldn't tell. I'd be guessing.
Richard Kaufman is in the chair, and he said, I couldn't tell. It's fair enough.
Agassi's had a better time of it this year in the Super 9. He only played in 3 of them, and he won Indian Wells. Finalist in... He's a finalist in Indian Wells, won Key Biscayne.
Troncans, 30.
And a quarterfinalist in Hamburg. On the other side of the coin, Sampras performed well in the hardcourt events, but once he got onto the clay, that's the line judge that called that one out. When he got on the clay, he lost second round in Monte Carlo where he sprained an ankle, was out for a while, and then first round in Rome.
He does that better than anybody. That low forehand, he's able to pick it out of a relatively low position and get it up and over.
Well, have a look. He's pretty low to the ground when he hits it. He does get down. See, he bends the knees there. That's where the taller players have problems with that shot, because they stand straight up. They're not down, and they don't get from low to high. Agassi gets from low to high on that shot every time he plays it. Watch out.
It's another one. I don't think anybody plays that shot better than Andre Agassi. In fact, I know there isn't anybody who plays it better. First game, second set. On the West Coast. Let's look at this forehand again, Fred.
As you mentioned, any time he gets out, you see, you've got to commit yourself. You've got to go one way or the other, and Sampras was off to the forehand side. Agassi hit it away from the body. Sampras now serving, and he's only lost 1 point when he gets that first serve in the opening set. This is the way things worked out in the first set. Sampras 18 winners, Agassi only 7 unforced errors. Well, Sampras made a few more than Agassi, but that just gives you an idea. Sampras, that's the first time this week that Sampras hit more winners than unforced errors in a match, and that lets you know that he's starting to play well. The fact that he only lost 6 points on serve doesn't hurt either.
15 all.
That's by 2:15 all.
Sampras, you're talking about the interesting comparisons between the two. He's from a Greek-American family. His dad's Sam. And Andre Agassi's family, not from that far away. His dad was an Olympic boxer for Iran. He's an Armenian. And they moved, of course, to Las Vegas, which is where Andre has been all his life.
Troncans, 30.
5 aces now for Sampras.
Game point, Sampras.
Troncans, 40.
He's had 6 aces so far. Agassi's got 4.
First serve. That one over. 40-30. Second serve.
Oh, taking a little bit of a chance. But it worked. Deuce.
You got it.
Arms down together, arms up together. Our super slow-mo camera, there it goes. He placed that ball up, and then you look at the knee bend, and the racket is thrown up and out at the ball. Wrist snaps at the top of the swing as he throws his weight forward. That's what gets the pace on the serve. 205 kilometres an hour, that one. At 127 miles an hour.
Big return, and Sampras kind of glanced over at the lines person, but it was clearly on the line. Here's a breakpoint chance for Agassi.
2 points in a row there now where Agassi's been in trouble, and he's replied with a shot that's been right on the baseline.
Cross-court winner, and Agassi's got the first break of the match for him. Sampras broke him once in the first set to win it 6-3. Now Agassi leads it by 2 games to love.
Let him off the hook a little bit here. Agassi was down 40-15 here in this game. Hit a couple on the line, and then he's given an opportunity because of a fine return of serve. He has time to make that topspin cross-court forehand for his only break. It's 2-love Agassi.
Above 15.
It's been an outstanding year, hasn't it, for Agassi these last 12 months, at least since the US Open last year. He won the Canadian last year, who played in Toronto. This year he's won 5 tournaments. Beat Sampras at the Australian.
That return of serve too short. Gets anywhere near that service line, it gets dealt with. So Agassi now trying to consolidate the position here. There's the first serve, and Agassi gets time to really wind up and throw himself at these forehands, and he hits them that hard that even with Sampras's foot speed, he can't make anything work.
Goes wide, and it's 30-15 Agassi. He also won San Jose over Michael Chang. He won Key Biscayne again over Sampras. And last week he beat Stefan Edberg in the final of Washington.
Again, it's a short reply inside that service line. Agassi has those for breakfast. We'll probably dessert today. 40-15.
Game point. Agassi looks like he's in control of the set. 1 break of serve only, though. 3 games to love Agassi. He lost the first set to Sampras. Agassi 3 games to love in the second set. 1 break of serve. Sampras won the first. Agassi, of course, is #1 player in the world, so there is the fear factor that the other players have for him. But he doesn't see that as all positive.
I've always had a knack for bringing out the best in my opponents, you know, and a lot of times when somebody is scared, they fight harder, you know. When somebody fears, they bring out more because they know they have to, you know, and so I think that there's a give and take, you know. There's a advantage of getting that early break because the guy feels and respects your game. By the same token, there's also the reality of them knowing that, hey, this is the match of the week for me, this is a match of the month, possibly the match of my career. So you're really going to get the best.
It's true. It's true. They do fear you.
While he's sitting on that, they've played one another often enough that Agassi knows that Sampras's favourite serve is down the tee. Agassi's already hit 5 forehand winners in this set, and he only had 3 in the first set, the entire set.
15 all. Sampras serving into the sun. This is a much unkinder side than the other side, but that's where he lost his serve, with the sun behind his neck.
In case you're wondering what types of equipment the man serving, Pete Sampras uses a Wilson Pro Staff mid-size. Been using it for 8 years. It weighs 13 5/8 ounces, which is 1.5 ounces more than the stock racket if you went to buy it in the store.
So he adds some weight to it.
He adds some weight to it, and he strings it up at 74 pounds. That's 14 pounds over what is recommended, so don't try and get your pro to string your racket at 74 pounds like
Not unless
Pete
you've got
Sampras.
a couple of dozen back in the closet.
And his grip size is 4 7/8 inches. Pretty big grip. Agassi, on the other hand, just to give you what he uses, Agassi uses the Head Radical 260 OS, and he's used that for the past 4 years. It's 13 ounces, and it's 1 ounce more than if you would buy, 1 ounce heavier than if you'd buy it in the store. And he strings it, it's in the middle of the recommended range at 64 pounds. And his grip size is 4 9/16. So that's the equipment that's facing one another out there today.
Game to Sampras, and Agassi leads 3 games to 1. Now Sampras is trying to get everybody to give him a hand here, give him a little help. And they respond.
The other thing I like in this is the dampening device that Agassi has. It says rubber bands from the post office. And Pete Sampras uses that dampening device. That's so that it stops the vibration of the strings going up the arm.
Love.
Kansas, 15 love.
Sampras's errors, only 1 double fault. The backhand has been his problem today. Total of 14. Actually, I think the crowd are cheering Sampras, I mean Agassi, in this set, Cliff, basically because they want to see a 3-setter.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas part 2,
15 all. Agassi played in 3 Grand Slam finals before he eventually won one, to everyone's surprise, including his own. It was Wimbledon.
Oh, he made it.
Glance at the line and then back up at Richard Kaufman, but that's not going to help him because that one clipped the line, and this is a big point at 15:30 coming up.
Yeah, he had a quick look at the linesman, but it was on the line. Sampras there. But he's one of his dampening devices. He uses those stringerlings so that the strings don't fray. He uses natural gut in his racket.
That did not help him any. He has been helped a couple of times from the tape. That time it just set up for the bossing shot from Agassi off the two-hander, and it's 30-all. Big point that was.
He's hit a few of these, Cliff. That's the running forehand. Now, the next shot here, he gets an opportunity to come into the net. And rather than slice the back end and come in, I'd like to see him slice one of those and get it deep into the corner and make Agassi hit the passing shot, as opposed to putting all the pressure on himself going for that big topswing, because he hasn't hit a winner off that shot all day today, Sampras.
There goes a string talking about rackets and strings, Fred, and he's going to have to go now and change rackets at the side of the court. You could hear it, couldn't you, the pop?
And when that string pops, that ball just carries, and that one was about 8 feet long. Agassi's taken a breather. He'll go back out there and put a towel over his head and say, hey, I'll call a couple of lines.
He could hear it pop just like we could. Yep. So he knew that Sampras was going to have to take a break to get a new racket. I still like what Lendl used to do. Every change of balls, he'd change his racket. That way you're not going to break any strings. I wonder why Sampras doesn't do that. I'm going to ask him. Game point, Agassi. Because sometimes just a couple of points in a match make all the difference. West Coast. Agassi to receive Sampras' serve. He has a 4-1 lead. One break in the second set. He lost the first. Love 15. He's in trouble now, Sampras.
Yeah, Agassi is starting to read the serve of Sampras, is because Sampras's favourite shot is that serve out to the forehand and down the middle to the forehand. Agassi's on. There's another one there, only that one's got too much power on it.
Chance by 215 to his 8th ace. He had him out of court, closed in, and then gently just edges it into the open court.
This is the topspin backhand we're talking about, and it's 3/4, and it has to take that hand off it again, so he can't get much pace on it with a single hander, and allowed Sampras to sneak into the net.
Running forehand way offline. 30-all. Sampras has equaled Becker's 6 Grand Slam titles. He's well on his way to McEnroe's 7. Connors is 8. And, you know, he looks at Lever and would like to equal his record. Well, he's halfway there. Lever had 11 singles titles. It's Grand Slams, of course. That one again, that low forehand that he can hit as well as anybody. That one just sailed wide, and just as well for Sampras, because that would have given Agassi another break point for an insurance break. He leads 4-1. Area winners by said Agassi has increased his winners here in the second.
I thought it just missed. Well. Yeah.
Second serve. Sampras wins the game, and it's 4-2.
Excellent category, 4-2.
And you look at the service direction from Agassi there, out wide to the forehand. He hasn't gone out there too often, mostly down the tee to the backhand. That's on the deuce court, but I think you'll find it a little differently when he goes to the ad court. Normally he likes to go out wide so that he opens up the court for that forehand. This is a big game, the 7th game. Now out to the backhand, that's what I thought, out to that backhand, because then Sampras, if he just slides that one back, it opens up the court round half court for Agassi, and that's his favorite shot.
Thanks to get you out wide here, like this. Best point of the match so far. Terrific stuff from both players. Sampras covering so much ground to get to the forehand that Agassi hit on the line.
I think the crowd liked that one. There's the return. Look at this. Sampras gets it deep into the corner. Agassi does a great job to stretch for it. Plays the drop shot. Look, Sampras not even in your photo. Now he does come into range, and wrong foots Agassi on that one, and that allows him to put the volley away.
Go back.
He missed it.
We knew Agassi had the one down the line covered. It was not the percentage shot to play, but Agassi looked for the one down the line. Sampras then tried to roll the backhand. Tough shot to play on the run.
Reminder that Sampras has not lost a match in 16 matches, starting at the after he lost at the French Championships.
Again, the return, that's set up once more by the deep serve into the backhand side, and it sets this one up, and Sampras cannot stretch for that one.
Going for the big one down the line, and he missed it. Boys missed 3 in a row here. And now Agassi's got a game point after he was down love 30 in this game. Freddie doesn't have that wide. I know that you like the wide and wide serve, but Agassi really doesn't have the wide serve into the forehand side that can hurt anybody much.
Well, I don't think he plays it against Sampras that much, because Sampras is going to tee off on that one. He only blocks that one back against the real big servers, and I think with Agassi he has time to swing at it, and that takes away the control of the point from Agassi. I think Sampras slices that backhand return from the deuce court when Agassi serves to him on a lot of occasions. It allows Agassi then to control the point.
Out of reach, and Agassi holds on, and it's 5-2 for Agassi now. It was 5-2 Sampras in the first set, and he ended up winning it 6-3. Stay with us. This is now in trouble in the second set. 5-2 Agassi leading. That's one break, a serve. In the first 4 months of last year, Sampras compiled the biggest lead in the history of the IBM ATP computer. He won 7 titles along the way going into the French Championships. But at the time, Fred, he said, you know, you don't own number one, you just rent it for a while.
That's right.
And how prophetic that was, because then at the end of the year he was injured and Agassi made his move, and now Agassi is the #1 player in the world.
Agassi has faced the Sampras serve, and this is what it looks like. Pretty even down out wide and down the tee. A couple of them at the body. Well, he can't hit a second serve much better than that. And he never even finished the swing before Agassi had knocked off the winner. There it is, down the tee 35% of the time, out to the backhand 53%. Thought it might have been a little more the other way.
Another attempt into the backhand side to add to those numbers, but that was called a let, so he'll do it again. Got the line. Terrific return.
Two unbelievable returns here. Sampras hasn't even been able to touch either one of these. Agassi, this one jumps up around shoulder height, but look at this. He's able to come from low to high and then go right through the ball and flattens it out, gets it across in front of the incoming volleyer. Well, this is what Sampras did to Agassi in the opening set when he had the opportunity at love 30. He took the second serve and went in behind it. Agassi's taken a leaf out of the Sampras book by doing the same thing. Brings up 3 set points.
Sampras saves 1.
Well, Agassi was able to save 3 when he was down 3 set points and then forced Sampras to serve for it. I would guess that Sampras wanted to do the same thing here. It's wide.
Just punishes you from the baseline, Agassi, from side to side. Brooke Shields, his girlfriend, likes what she sees here for now a lot. It's 1 set all. Final set will decide the Du Maurier Limited Canadian Open champion for 1995. Pete Sampras, incidentally, is playing his first day match here since Wednesday when he took out Jonathan Scott. All of his other matches have been played in the late afternoon and evening. And there's a difference in the conditions because the balls react differently in the heat of day.
Kansas over. 15-1.
Love.
That's that topspin backhand again. He gets that shot and he wants to come over it from half court. The ball is up very, very high. I would suggest a slice there because he hasn't done the right thing on that shot. He's missed 4 of the 5 that he's had there.
Used to hit that backhand that you've been talking about, Fred, with 2 hands as a kid. When he was 14 years old, he gave away the 2-handed and started to hit with 1 because he and his coach at the time, Pete Fisher, said if you want to win Wimbledon, you've got to volley, and no 2-handed players can volley worth a darn. Game point hit Agassi, first game of the 3rd set. Here's the beach, Brad Gilbert. He's Agassi's coach. Game to Agassi, 1 game to love in the 3rd set. Well, this is about anything that you could ask for from a tournament. It's been a great tournament so far. Record crowds and number 1 and 2 in the world battling it out. Events as well. This Jarry Park was built during the Montreal Exposition in 1967. And as I said, the Expos played here in 1969 and on.
All the fans were signing the wall. This thing comes down next week. There'll be a brand new stadium when we come back here in 2 years' time. The women's event will be back here next year. They alternate between Toronto and Montreal for the Canadian Open.
Kansas 15-love.
The second set, Agassi comes up with more winners in the second set. 83% on second serve points won for Agassi, and 2 of 3 break points. So he's been the man in the driver's seat in set number 2. First set took about 37 minutes in my unofficial count. Second set 34 minutes.
What does it depend on now, Fred? What is going to determine the outcome of this match? Is it still the serve of Sampras?
Who knows? You know, both these boys have gone at it. There's only a couple of points made the difference in the first set.
Oh, called fault, and that was in. If ever I saw a serve that was in. Sampras delays walking back, and he should. That thing was inside the line. That one sails long. Remember that one now, because you know matches have turned on smaller things than that. Instead of winning the point on an ace, it's 30-15.
Second set, there was only one game went to juice, and that was when Sampras lost his first service game there. He led 40-15 in it, if you remember. Agassi came back.
And that one sails wide. The backhand side of Sampras has fallen apart to some extent.
It's not been good today.
And secondly, as you've already said, Agassi is beginning to pick the direction on the serve. Remember that what I think was a bad call. It's 30-all.
Called long that time. It was a close second serve. Agassi looking at the lines judge. No joy, though.
Game point.
Backhand again, just trying to steer it, keep it into play.
Number 1 and 2 in the world playing very well here in this championship match. They sort of shrugged off the challenge of the fleas up to now. This is Sunday, final day. They've got used to the conditions.
13 errors, unforced errors on that backhand side from Sampras so far.
Deuce. Break point for Agassi.
Good depth on that shot from Agassi. Both players need that, because anything short on either end of the court gets dealt with severely.
Remember that ace that I think Sampras served to give him 40-love in this, that ended up in him losing the point.
Really went for the big one there. He's not having much success with first serves in this game.
Clipped the line on that one. Agassi with a quick glance to see whether he'd get a good call on that one. No avail. It's deuce.
Slipped off the line, that one.
Deuce.
Sampras continues to go back out to the backhand in this rally because he's missed that forehand when he's tried to drag it down across the body down to Agassi's forehand side. That one on the line. Still no first serves this game.
Backhand again is really broken down.
Avantage.
And here's another break point for Agassi. At this stage of the match where both players know that they're going to have to win it. It's not going to be lost by either one of them. Super stuff from both players. Some great court coverage by Andre Agassi, who had to cover a lot of court to beat Edberg just one Sunday ago, but Sampras was playing with pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah, but boy, Agassi worked that backhand over of Sampras there. This is a pretty dangerous shot. Look where he makes this one from, but fortunately he made it, and it's back to deuce. But Agassi throughout that point worked the Sampras backhand over.
The longest game of the match. Now game point for Sampras. 10 aces.
Avantage, Sampras.
Still an average of more than one ace per game for Sampras.
Je Sampras. Into party. 1-all.
Must be a nice feeling to know that you can go out and serve one ace a game before the games start. There's a look at who has won the Super 9 so far and what's left on the Super 9 circuit. Pete Sampras won the first one. Agassi then turned the tables. I mean, in Key Biscayne. Musta won a couple. Medvedev won in Hamburg. We're in Montreal now. And then Cincinnati in a couple of weeks. Essen, Paris, and Frankfurt for the finals. All on ESPN, the North American events. 7 days of coverage here on our network.
Sampras can't believe that he has made so many unforced errors off that backhand side. Agassi hasn't had an ace since the first set.
Can't part 2, 15-all.
Because Fred, he doesn't anticipate serving a lot of aces.
No.
That's not how he wins his matches.
No. Good first serve in, three-quarter pace, and then he lets rip with the forehand.
Strong hands, 30, 15.
Sampras going through a pretty rugged patch at the moment. Barely survived his last service game.
Everybody does not realize that that's been called wide. They think that Sampras won that Agassi won the point.
He did.
Well, he did. It was wide, excuse me. He won it twice.
Twice, yeah. They thought that that one down the line was good and that Agassi made a great shot, but the one that Sampras hit was wide.
Oh, let's not tell him about it.
40-15.
Same result.
Agassi.
Makes it look easy, Agassi, from the baseline. He's got so much power and he controls the ball so well. It's just incredible.
time.
Glad you joined us this afternoon, everybody. It's the Du Maurier Limited Open that you're watching. It's a championship match. Andre Agassi, top player in the world, and Pete Sampras, number 2 in the world. Sampras won the first set behind one breaker serve. Then Agassi came back, broke her a couple of times, and won that set 6-2. No breaks to serve yet in the third set. It's 2-1. Agassi leading. I'm Cliff Drysdale. Fred Stolle sitting next to me today. And we are watching some super tennis. If there's a default in either one of their games, it may be Sampras's backhand that has become vulnerable lately, but Sampras will serve here, trailing 1-2 in the third.
Andre Agassi's winners off that forehand, boy, that's where he's done a lot of damage when he gets that serve in and then lets it go. When Sampras gets that return just half court. Actually, right now, it appears to me, sitting here, that Agassi is so very confident at the moment, going for everything, and Sampras is just starting to steer the ball a fraction, not really going out after it like he did in the first set. So we'll just see if that changes.
I was thinking exactly the same thing. I was also thinking that Agassi is onto Sampras's serve better than he was in the first set. So if he keeps him playing, in other words, if Sampras cannot get a lot of free points on his serve, it's going to be very tough for him to win this match this afternoon. Remember, Sampras had a tough match yesterday in the semifinals with Enquist, and he played in the late afternoon. Agassi, by contrast, took out Wielander in a very short shrift.
Well, he never got through till what was about 8:30, 9 o'clock last night, Sampras, and he singles with Enquist, and Agassi took out Wielander just with the loss of a couple of games. It didn't take long at all.
Hands 30-15.
Talking about Sampras's backhand, and the statistics really back up what you've been saying, Fred.
Yeah, this is very unusual for Sampras there. Only 2 backhand winners as opposed to 15 unforced errors on the backhand side. It's all wide. Sampras thought he had it.
I thought he did too. Double fault. He serves a 165-kilometer-an-hour second serve. Let me translate that for you. It's 102 miles an hour. 30 all. Big points coming up. Winner, and here is a break point.
Again, it's that slice backhand that he's had trouble with all afternoon.
30-40.
And it's been in the mid-court. Look, here, another one, the top spinner, and sits up for Agassi.
Agassi's had 7 chances to break. He's broken twice.
Sampras's serve percentage gone way down. 31%. It's gone from 56 in the first to 52, way down, and a double fault here. This could be history.
2 in this last game, and that has cost him. He served what he thought was an ace, and I did too, to tell you the truth. And then he served a double fault that put Agassi back at 30 all, and then he served another double fault to give him the game. It is 3-1 Agassi.
Packed stadium, all starting to scream and yell and holler for their favorite player. And most of it's Agassi. Agassi having fun with the ball kids here that have done a super job. He likes them in specific spots, though.
Cans at 15.
That one away, love 30 here. A chance for Sampras to make a comeback in the set. He's down 3-1.
Love 30.
Stretches again. Once you can get Agassi to take a hand off the racket, off that two-fisted backhand, you're in with a chance. Sampras now, love 30. Agassi hasn't been broken since the 6th game of set number 1.
Oh, that's just super stuff. Agassi doesn't like a baseline call there. About in the middle of the point. But he's not going to get that change now. 3 break points.
This is a tremendous rally. Both players here striking the ball solidly. That's the call. It looked as though it may have been fraction along there, or it either clipped the back of the line. Tough to tell from our vantage point, but great camera work from our cameraman there. It now stands at love 40. 3 break point opportunities. The first chance that Sampras has had since the first set. I mean, he broke in the first set. Hasn't looked like breaking since.
He missed it. That is a real low percentage shot to go for. As wide as he was going over the very highest part of the net where you've really got to use all of the court to get it in, and that one was just wide.
Sampras led 5-2 in the first set and had love 40 on Agassi's serve, same as he's got here, and Agassi got out of it, finished up the game with a couple of aces. See what happens here.
Running around the backhand side there to try to go and hit the forehand, but Freddie wasn't there in time.
He didn't hit it, though, did he? He steered it, and that's been the difference the last few games, as Agassi has been going for his shots, and in my opinion, Sampras has just been steering them a little. This is a big point. Sampras got a break serve here if he's to stay in it. Broken string again, I think.
There he comes. He'll have to come in. And that one, he knew he had to desperately make a move to the net. Sampras is down. Agassi's going to go take a look at him, but I think he's fine. He just wanted to try to get the point over as quickly as possible. He'll have to change rackets.
He's broken strings on a string on 2 very important points. One in the last set that he drove on a return of serve. This one here, he's had a broken string trying to play this one, the slice backhand into the net. But Sampras there at full stretch on that passing shot. Agassi had that one directed just right on the line. So tough breaks for Sampras. Great play from Agassi, though, again scrambling back from love 40 down on his serve.
Avantage to Agassi.
just too much to give away a couple of points because of faulty equipment and broken strings. I know he strings it tightly, but he should have more of them out there. Change them more often. Agassi's ahead in the third set now. Sampras is now in trouble as Agassi takes the lead with the breaker serve. That's one breaker serve in the third set. That's what they are playing for, $254,000 and 340 points. Just a reminder that he could cut Agassi's lead to just 726 points, just to put this thing in perspective, if he can beat Andre Agassi, who's now the #1 player on the points leaderboard. But that doesn't look like it's going to happen. 1-4. Agassi is the holder of the Canadian. He won it last year in Toronto. He's trying to repeat. If he does, he'd be the first since Ivan Lendl. Defining moment here for Sampras. He's going to have to get his act together and really make a move, and he looks very lackadaisical at this point. Love 30, 1-4.
Well, we said just a few games ago that Agassi looked as though he was the man that was swinging from the hips, and nothing any better than this. Sets up 3 breakpoint opportunities. Sampras has lost 8 points in a row.
I think the broken string
more than
broke
that, actually.
Broken string broke his heart at the same time.
Let's see if Sampras can come back from love 40 down.
Oh, cannot hit a better volley than that from his shoelace top. Clean win across court. Watch this.
Yeah, you can't do it much better than this, and look at that, right off the toe of the shoe for a winner.
It's 11 aces for Sampras, and he never needed one more than on that point. The open court for that backhand volley, netted it.
Again, that was a steered volley, wasn't it? He didn't punch that. He didn't go after it. He never moved in. The ball came to him, and that's been the difference, in my opinion, this third set, is that Agassi has been aggressive and gone after everything, and Sampras not doing that. Well, he made it.
Agassi was looking for that serve down the forehand side that time. Sampras nevertheless held on and hit a volley on the line.
There's a big volley here because, as you mentioned, Agassi looking for this return, and a tough volley to make, and he whips this one, goes to the backhand side. Look at that, Sampras on that volley makes it just inside the line. Sampras not done yet.
That is a terrific comeback from Sampras.
Both players showing why they are #1 and #2 in the world. Sampras comes up with the 12th ace of this match. Both players down love 40. There's been service break opportunities in 4 games in this set.
4 games to 2 Agassi. He's serving into the sun now.
Sampras has been down break point on every game this set on serve.
These two who have dominated this year in men's tennis, number 1 and 2 in the world, both from the USA. They'll be Davis Cup teammates against Sweden.
Well, they've dominated on
In
the
Las
hard
Vegas.
courts. Let's not forget Thomas Muster, who put together a tremendous run of matches on the clay courts in Europe. He's been the dominant factor in Europe, Monte Carlo, Rome, the French Open.
Love 30. What a difference a couple of minutes makes. With Sampras down love 40 for an insurance break for Agassi, and he was able to claw his way back to win his serve. And now it's love 30 on Agassi's serve. He was down love 40 on his serve last game.
Cans Honk, 15-30.
Enormous point, this one right here.
Well, he actually played the slice backhand on
approach.
that one, and I quite enjoyed that, but he was in the net position for the volley. What's this one? Doesn't quite get it deep enough, but he's there. He's looking for the one down the line, gets it, but then there's no racket work on this. He just stops that one. Very disgusted with that effort on the volley, Sampras. 30 all.
I think that ball got a little lower. He was expecting the passing shot to be hit harder.
Oh, gutsy second serve. Ace on that second serve from Agassi. He saw Sampras move. There it is up in the air and snaps it out wide to the forehand. You can see Sampras already taken a step or two. He's not even in the frame.
Game point Agassi for a 5-2 lead in the third.
Well, that was a smart play from Agassi there. He hasn't done this all match. He throws in a three-quarter serve here and a serve and volley. It just shows you how much these fellas think when they're playing against one another to try and get a little bit of an edge. Sampras read it. He was there for the slice backhand down the line.
Thank you.
Had plenty of room to make it. We're back at deuce.
No matter that the sun is on that side, it is now moved over far enough where it is not as much of a factor as it was an hour ago. Agassi puts the overhead away easily, and he's got a game point.
Neither one of these boys missed too many overheads, do they?
Agassi.
Well, take a deep breath, everybody. That's 6 aces for Agassi in the match, but far more importantly, he leads 5-2. Sampras will serve to try to stay in it after this. It has been a great week of tennis here. They started out with 64 draw here. The top 8 seeds were given a bye. 2 are left. Soon just one will stand, and he'll be the champion of Canada for this year. It's the DeMaria Limited Open that you're watching. Cliff Drysdale, Fred Stolle, the final moments of this match between Sampras and Agassi. Sampras serving, trailing 2-5, third set, 1 set off.
Kansas are 15-9.
Was he talking in Brad Gilbert, his coach's direction? Gilbert, I asked him about that. I said, you know, you're going to be called for coaching. He said, I don't say a word to him. I'm not allowed to.
Wrong to 0. 30 love. Got wrong to 0. 40 love.
This is the easiest game Sampras has had this set.
Game point. Super looking slice backhand, clean winner from Sampras. That keeps him in the match, and it will force Agassi to serve for the Canadian title.
New balls.
#1 spot in the world is not at stake here, but the race for #1 is very much alive. Just a reminder that Pete Sampras was injured at this time of the year last year and did not play in the summer circuit. In fact, didn't play a tournament other than Davis Cup between Wimbledon and the US Open last year. So he has a chance to make up the difference between he and Agassi. Serving with new balls for the match.
On the line.
For those of you tuning to watch Bridgestone Supercar Series, it'll be seen in its entirety as soon as this is over. Love 15. Watching the Du Maurier Limited Open Championships of Canada, Agassi and Sampras, the two top players in the world. Agassi serving for the match. 5-3 he leads. It's 1 set all, 15 all in this game. Hit on the two-hander. You very seldom see that from Agassi.
Well, that was one of the points that was played like earlier in the match, with Sampras getting some depth on that topspin backhand and Agassi trying to put the pressure on and go for a little too much with that one jumping at him. 15-30. That's what he's done so well. Serve that kicker out there to the backhand. Sampras has not got the depth on that return once more, and it's around the center court, around the service line area, and Agassi misses very few from there.
2 points from the match. Championship point coming up for Agassi.
Thank you. Thank you. S'il vous plaît.
Open court for the winner, and Sampras goes down to Agassi in 3 sets. 6-3 in the third.
Well, quite a well-played match all round, and the last 3 out of the last 4 times the player that's won the first set of these confrontations finishes up losing the match. Agassi came back, but today it was a strange result for Pete Sampras because I think it was the backhand that let him down today.
Their rivalry is now dead even at 8 matches all. Number 1 and number 2 in the world have battled it out. Agassi still stands. Pete Sampras losing to Andre Agassi here, 6-3 in the 3rd set. Sampras started out winning the first set 6-3, and then Fred lost the 2nd set, both of them.
Beat him fair and square today, Cliff. Sampras winning that first set. You thought that he might be able to get away with it again today, but Agassi came back and got out of a couple of love 40 games. Sampras not playing the big points that well today, and his backhand let him down.
Driftway ATP Championships begins here on ESPN August 7th. Another full week of coverage. We have had a week's full of coverage here from Montreal. Coming up next, it's the Bridgestone Supercar Series, so stay tuned for that. A record-breaking week of tennis from Montreal, as a matter of fact. This is the last time that you'll be seeing tennis from this present Jarry Tennis Stadium, so we'll say goodbye from the Jarry Tennis Stadium. I'm Cliff Drysdale for Fred Starley, and earlier in the week, Mary Carrillo. Goodbye from Montreal for the final time for the week.